It is 7 o'clock, so let's call the meeting to order.
No, roll call.
Roll call, please.
Huber.
Here.
Loest. Kettering.
Here.
Hummel.
Here.
O'Hara.
Here.
Welsh.
Here.
Kneifel.
Okay. Do we have anybody, have you guys had time to review last meeting's minutes, and do we have a motion to approve?
I motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Do we have any items to be added to tonight's agenda?
No.
I
Sorry.
want to talk a little bit about AI and the role that this team might play in it.
Okay. Approval of tonight's, well, do we have to make a motion to add that?
Yes.
Okay.
Or we'll just approve with amended,
Okay.
as amended.
Okay. So we'll need a motion to approve with a discussion item, AI/data center.
My motion exactly.
Okay, so I'll need a second on the floor.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Conflict of interest.
Have none.
Welsh, none.
Hummel, none.
O'Hara, none.
I'm going to abstain, because of personal reasons, so,
Okay.
For the plat.
for the plat.
Okay. We have a few minutes before the plat.
Nope.
Oh, we can pull those up, you're right.
We can go right away.
Perfect.
So if you remember a while back, we approved a plat here. This is Forest Lake subdivision. 52 is right down here. They are just adding 3 lots right here. Look like that. 1, 2, 3. Goes down to right about here. And they will have access off of this road or 310, depending on which way. As you can see on the plat, they did create this road. So that's how those 3 lots will probably be accessed. Although this one could potentially go off 310 if they chose. Because it's a dedicated right of way.
Do those roads actually exist now?
Yes. There's a couple houses out there.
Google Maps doesn't know it. I was looking for that thing, I couldn't find it.
Google Maps quite a bit off on several of the lake area roads just because of, you know.
They're just, they're behind
topography, yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, so. Okay. Do we have any public comment regarding this plat? Seeing none. Planning Commission discussion regarding these plats.
Meets all the criteria as far as I can tell.
Yes, minimum lot requirements, lot widths, everything
Yeah.
is up to code, up to ordinance.
I have nothing.
That's Shank's prop.
It used to be, I think he's turned it over to Rob Klimish now.
To who?
Rob Klimish,
Oh,
that's who I've been working with on these. At least he's taken the lead.
I have nothing to add, you know, neighboring areas, you know, in fact, slightly larger than some of the plots nearby. It's an area that we want growth to happen. It can be supported by, you know, BY and utilities will already be ran on that road or off of 311th, so I have nothing to add. Just a motion.
I move we approve.
A second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Huber,
Abstain.
Kettering,
Yes.
Hummel,
Approve, or yes?
O'Hara,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I did prepare this statement before Dawn added the discussion item, so I just want to make sure I read it off tonight. But so as a chair of this planning commission, I feel that it is my obligation to encourage each of you to stay up to date on the current community interest in data centers. We will at some point be entrusted by the public and the county commission to develop the ordinances, whether in support of or opposition of, that can have significant effects on our county and its residents. A well-informed planning commission allows us to make well-informed decisions. So I ask that during each of these discussions, we collaborate with each other, demonstrating mutual respect for our different perspectives. I know everyone here is probably well aware of the community interest involving data centers, but if you haven't been staying up to date on what's going on, and even next week's county commission meeting, or public hearing, I guess, I want you guys to get up to speed, because regardless how this shakes out, we will likely be involved. And the reason we all volunteered our time and asked to be appointed to this committee is because we had an interest and we wanted to be involved. So let's show the commissioners and let's show the public that we were selected and appointed correctly, and that we can make decisions in good faith with good transparency. So like I said, as we move forward into this, I just want you guys to be prepared, and in the coming weeks or months, definitely do your best to stay up to date on everything surrounding data centers. Okay, with that being said, Don, I will open the discussion up to you.
Well, just for discussion purposes at the outset, I want everybody to realize that this could be a very time-consuming thing. Mike said they when they did the solar and stuff, they sometimes met twice a week.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment of a lot of time, and we need everybody's thoughts on it. Either way, and we're not going to promote or deny it. We're going to set up an ordinance of how it would be implemented in the county if it were to be implemented.
I agree with that 100%. And I have been reading up and trying to study up on the AI data centers. And my big concern, as is a lot of people's, is the water usage. And there's some developing technology out there that would use much less water, but they're not there yet. So I don't even know if this is possible, but when we get down to brass tacks and start talking about zoning, I think we have to address the issue with the water. Because the water they do use has anti-scaling compounds in it and has to be purified before it can be released into the environment. And for instance, the three companies that are the most upfront and transparent are Google, Meta, and I think it was Microsoft. They're very transparent about their water usage and everything, but because of the explosion of AI, they had a facility down in Nebraska that was supposed to use, I think it was 571 million gallons, and it used twice that much because of, depending on how much the system is being used, the more it's used, the more heat it creates, and the more water they have to use. So they can predict water to a certain point. And we all know that there's years in Yankton where they've had to regulate water because of a drought. We haven't seen that in a while, but
It was close this year.
yeah, we're there. This year it might happen. So my main concern with data centers is the water usage and the noise
And electrical draw.
and the electrical draw. yes.
And I feel like those three, that's the trifecta the general public is
Yep,
is going, and so that's where we can still find good policy, we can still find good ordinances, we can work together in that collaborative environment if we're educated, like you said, with,
yeah,
and to, back to like the CAFO thing, right? The CAFO that we approved 6 months ago would have been a no 3-4 years ago, but the technology had come along, right? And so then it was permittable, right? So, like I said, this is coming. You know, we asked to be a part of this. We are here to be an arm for the, you know, the commission and a tool for them. Let's make sure that we do get to be that tool. I sadly cannot be at next week's county commission meeting. I'll be at Mount Rainier, so there's that. But if, you know, if any of you guys want to vocalize or tell Dawn, I think Dawn knows my stance is I would prefer it to come through here. We can work with the public. We can set up additional meetings. We understand our current zoning ordinances, and we can help with that. And we may be able to facilitate obtaining a better result quicker for the county than setting up additional committees and having those committees make recommendations to us, and then we have to make those we have to have so many meetings on those recommendations and go through them again and then take it up to the county commission. We could save that step. We could be the intermediary, and that's what we were ultimately designed for. So, like I said, if we can stay up to date on it and really have those good discussions and have a room and a platform for people to come and share their concerns, I think we are the appropriate avenue for that, so.
Well, I think I would agree with that. I understand that some of us have to work, and, you know, those are heavy commitments with work and family and so forth. And so I wouldn't have any problem putting in extra time, but I think that's a consideration, that, when we meet, how often we meet, and maybe we give ourselves a deadline to have something put together for the commission. I did talk to Gary. I talked to Gary, and he has been out looking for zoning ordinances that are already in existence. And so we could have some models to work off of. I don't know if you guys were able to be at that meeting that Thrive put together, but the briefer there, Scott Sandel, seems to be pretty well read in on the technical aspects, and he might be a good resource for us to come in and at least talk to us. He did reference that the state of North Dakota had put together what they call just a model ordinance that would address those three issues that we talked about, as well as other things. There would be things like road haul agreements. There would be things like, and before we turned on the mics, we were talking, not all data centers are the same, and you guys probably know more about this than I do, but I understand from Mr. Sandel's presentation that data centers that are owned by and run by banks, that are owned by, obviously used heavily by the government, and data centers that are used heavily by the medical research industry are well funded. And also those three companies you mentioned, Tim, they would be well funded. But there are data centers that are owned by companies that have never made a profit. It's all speculative, and they've gone out and they've gotten investors who are willing to put up the money, but they're betting on the come with things like ChatGPT and other types of AI that haven't really been proven yet. And so it seems to me like we should add an element that has to do with their financial stability when we're talking about this. And also probably add an element that would have to do with decommissioning. I talked to a person who's very, very knowledgeable about the electrical industry in this area about this specific thing, and one of the things that would happen is if a data center, let's say, came in and, just for example, that they ended up at Napa Junction or near that. Well, we have an electrical cooperative that provides power in that area. So if a data center came into that place, the builder, owner, would be required to pay for any additional infrastructure to get power to them.
It's the same with water.
I would think so.
DOI water's not gonna run a line.
They're not gonna run
For
lines.
just for one,
And so,
I don't think.
no, you're right. And in fact, Eco Water and companies like that are the ones that provide the water for these places. And,
The guy that talked at the Thrive meeting indicated that the technology is advanced on the water usage where they hardly use any water, they recycle it
right,
through the ground, through
Right.
the earth. And you use the same water over and over again.
so again, if we're gonna do this, we should probably have experts come in and
That's
brief
right.
us on those kinds of things. We shouldn't be guessing at it.
You're exactly right.
And, you know, BY Electric, BY Water, that, Mr. Sandal, others,
East River Electrical Co-op.
yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, and I think that's where this platform works well. You know, we understand the open meetings law, we have a place that can do it. You know, public comment can come in. We can also bring experts in as well. And we are able, and we're equipped to do that. We're equipped to post the agenda. We're equipped to even just post the video feed of the meeting, so people who can't make it. And that's our effort to remain transparent and do our fiduciary duty to the public. And, you know, I've heard from people who know of a planning administrator in, what is it, Lawton County, Virginia, has the most data centers out of all of the ones in the nation, and we could potentially have that person
Sure.
call in, and we could collect information from, you know, utilities, foundation, you know, that type of thing, from people in opposition, people in support, people who have stood and watched from the sidelines, you know, whether it's just been built in their community and saw what happened. I also think we have the right forum to gauge where our appetite is as a community and constituents. I think hyperscale data centers scare everyone. I don't think there's anybody who is chomping at the bit to have a hyperscale data center in their backyard or in their community. I think the last mile, which is like, they're called like edging data centers, so they like hold the information that you or your app need like pretty quickly. Those are the ones that are fairly close. You know, you're gonna see similar size to Truxedo, Prince Hydraulics, something in that nature. I would say that from the few people I've talked to, that maybe doesn't have quite the stigma around it, and I think they would be accepting of that, especially if they understood, you know, it's no different than basically from a sense of data, it's like having the FedEx hub here or having the UPS hub here. It allows you to have a place to get things a little quicker. You know, if the hub is in Sioux Falls, it changes things a little bit. Same with these edging data centers. Last fall in October, I heard a presentation from a guy who works for Thermobond. They build buildings in Elk Point, and I think they have a spot in like T now or Lenox. And a lot of their little pre-constructed buildings are actually going to be quote unquote edge data centers along pieces of like highways and stuff like that, to give those auto driving cars that feedback, right? Because it needs information, it needs it quick, especially when it's moving down the roads, and that's smaller than most of our substation buildings. And so I think laying out the types, the sizes, the usage, I think that's all going to be really critical, and maybe we have a vast majority of public who says no. I mean, and then in that case, we still have the duty to them to support their wishes and move on. But I would wonder if most people would look at something like that, or even you think about, you know, a couple banks getting together on one and housing, You know, again, in a building the size of some of the manufacturing plants,
Right.
or even smaller, 2 or 3 of the manufacturing companies or the hospital or whatever, I wonder how many people would actually be in opposition of that, considering power usage may be, you know, relatively low, water consumption. So I really think getting experts that can actually show us that, who can actually put it on a table for us so we can kind of see, and then we're able to educate the general public, I think would be a huge advantage for us. Cause yeah, I don't know enough about it now. I mean, if we built one the size of this government center, how much water would it use? How much
Yeah.
energy would it use? If we built one the size of Subway, I don't know. Depending on where you put it, it may not use that much more. It may not, and it may improve, you know, systems in the area, you know, and
And the amount of water they use depends on the type of cooling that they're doing.
correct.
If they're using an evaporative cooler, they use much less water, but much more electricity. So it depends on what their cooling system is gonna be. So,
And I'm
and I'm not trying to act like I know everything. I know just a little bit, you know.
I think we're all in the same boat where I don't think any of us want to raise our hands and say we're an expert. I do think we want the public to understand that we're going to make a decision based on data and information, and we are going to help. We're going to collect it. We're going to be part of the solution. We're going to be well informed.
All I need to know to go back to the commission is whether this group thinks they can do it and wanna do it.
What do you say, Nick? You haven't,
I agree with everything you guys have said, that the water, the sound and electricity, and the other side I'm thinking of is the fire industry. What happens if it does start on fire or stuff
Yeah.
like that?
Good.
What does it do to, you know, the
Here's
air?
what- Here's what
and all that stuff?
happens.
And one of the things that the commissioners are very interested in is verifying the amount of cash that will flow back into the county.
yeah.
Because we got financial problems, we've got to get some income coming in.
Well, and along that line, Don, there's just it seems like there's a tendency for people to wanna give away the store, before, you know, in order to attract people like this. And if you think about it for a minute, South Dakota has a very business-friendly legal environment.
Yeah.
We have no state income tax, either individual or corporate. And that's a huge draw. It should be a gigantic draw. So I hope nobody's thinking out there that we're gonna give away the sales tax revenue or try to do a TIF or some other offset. I hope that the plan would be, if you wanna come here, fine, you're gonna pay the freight.
Right, and I think the focus has to be long-term rather than short-term.
Right.
Because it's not a 5-year project. If we allow a data center to come in, it's gonna be a long-term facility and probably grow,
Right.
you know.
And self-regulation is going to be, you know, that's what
There'll
happened.
be some administration costs for the county, cause
Yeah.
somebody's gonna have to check on that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, self-regulation, so once we make an ordinance, so look at the cannabis industry in Yankton County, right? Some counties chose to put a cap, Yankton County chose to allow for self-regulation, which, we ended up with however many we have, 5 or 6, whatever the number is. Now looking long-term, will 5 or 6 stay, or will the best 3 stay?
Yeah.
And that was kind of that was part of the decision-making process. You know, if you make a cap of 1, you could get a really poorly ran one. Versus we did, hey, we'll allow them if you follow these sets of rules. You'll be allowed, you'll be permitted in your area if it's, you know, conforming. And we'll just see what happens in 5 years. My hunch is in 5 years, we'll kind of see it droop back down, and the 3 or 5 best ran establishments will stay in business. I think the same thing when you write an ordinance for data centers, we have to have a level of understand that there'll be some self-regulation. So we need to write it stringent enough that it fits our interest the best, but open enough that we do allow, because like I said, if we say we're gonna allow one or two, we might get two poorly ran ones. Versus if we set the rules out right and we do a good job, we may see 3 really good ones come in, or whatever the number is, or we may see 0. I know once we put the decommissioning clause in for the wind energy, that took project viability out of the window. No business wants to tie up money today for an expense 5-10 years down the road. And so that particular clause was inherently basically making a moratorium. Like, there won't be a wind energy project because of the decommissioning costs. But to our perspective of, you know, if that business changes hands a couple times and we're left with the structure that is not safe, it gets damaged and now it's, you know, wherever it is, it could fall on a property or fall on a roadway or whatever it is. Who's up with that cost? The setback wouldn't allow that, but.
I got a letter this week from a company. We have a piece of pasture ground up by Clark, South Dakota. And when the first wind energy first came in, I was for it. It seemed logical, and we signed up for it, and they quit right on our borderline. Over the fence, you can have them, and our property you can't. They get money for it, we don't. Which is, I don't care about that. But I got a letter this week saying, you gotta stay 150 feet away, and if you're gonna be within 150 feet away, you should get permission from the company. Yeah. Hell, nobody's gonna do that.
And so, I just think there's a lot of tools that we can leverage within a good ordinance and within the group of us. You know, Kelly and Sherry are both a wealth of knowledge as well. And I just really hope that the public and the county commission trusts us to do this and handle it with the sensitivity that it deserves, and maybe even the urgency that it deserves. And I will state up front, I probably won't make it to every one of the meetings, because to Mike's point, I do have a job and I do have a family. I will stay within reach of it though, and I will be there, I'll be active. And I think many of the board will maybe state the same up front, but I do think we will be able to make a well-informed decision that'll protect the community's interest and the county's. So I think if you would send that message up to the county commissioner for us or on our behalf, I think that would be great.
I'll do that.
Cool. Well, do we have any other discussion items tonight? Okay. Do we have any public comment tonight? I am seeing none, so to Mike's point, every once in a while at these meetings, if a bomb goes off, we just lose the planning commissioners and Bill. Which is a tragic loss for the community, but that happens. So we just need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second, anyone?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's
Yeah.
adjourned, carried.
Power of suggestion, let's not be suggesting bombs.
Good discussion, thank you, everybody.
I think so too.
It isn't gonna be easy, but
No, but I think if we structure it right,